Hey everyone. With the recent PWAB, we saw that they're going to be adding skill-based matchmaking into sixes here in Crucible, and I just wanted to come on and talk a little bit about it because as a top player, I want to say top is very loose. I'm a good player, right? I sit at around a 3.5 in Crucible. I play pretty well most of the time, and I think I have some interesting feedback for our good players when it comes to the skill-based matchmaking players and the bad players, because I remember being bad at the game before. I wasn't always really good, you know? I had trouble getting we ran out of medals, 10 streaks even, so I think that I have some interesting input about this, and I think that it is important to listen to both sides on this. This isn't very, very one way. I don't think we should listen to just the top tier players as well. We should be listening to everybody about this and try to make something that is more fair for everybody. But I just wanted to come on and give my overall opinions and thoughts about the skill-based matchmaking. So without further ado, let's get right on into it. So pretty much, what is skill-based matchmaking? So skill-based matchmaking is where you match players with similar skill levels to you. So if I play at a 1.5 KDA, I'm going to be playing people around, let's say, maybe a 1 to maybe like a 1.3 at minimum, to maybe a maximum to maybe like a 2 or 2.6, but that, or not a 2.6, sorry, a 1.6, maybe, or maybe even just a little bit better than you or a little worse, or just where you're at. That's if I'm sitting at a 1.5, right? Basically, just to sum that all up, you're going to be playing people around your skill level. So if you're below average, you're playing people who are more below average. If you're average, you're playing average, and above average, you're playing above average. So to talk about that a little bit more in detail, I think that for the below average players and maybe even the average players, I think that this is important, and I think it is a good thing to protect them. More so the below average players, because multiple times have I seen new lights, like literally level 1 players, come into Crucible and sit on the bottom with no caps, or maybe sometimes even a ton of caps, and just a super low KDA, like a 0.1 or something like that. Like 5 kills, 20 deaths, like, you know what I mean? They just don't play super hot. And I think it's important to protect them because you want to make a good experience in Crucible for everybody. And if they're having a bad experience, they're not going to want to play anymore. So it's important to keep the below average somewhat entertained, or a lot entertained even, while also feeling like they have a competitive chance. I think that is important. Now, when it comes to us above average players, I don't think that it is super fair for us to play against people who are also above average all the time, because you turn a game mode like sixes that is supposed to be casual into something more competitive. And the reason why I don't like the mixture of that is because we already have a competitive game mode in Crucible. If there was no competitive game mode, I'd be more for it than I am. But then again, I probably still wouldn't be super for it. I'm not a big fan of sweating in game modes. That's why I don't play a lot of trials. I don't touch comp. I've never even hit 5500. I just don't like the game mode. So I don't play it. And I stick to sixes because it's a more casual experience, and I feel like I perform the best in there without getting super heated because I'm playing a competitive match. And when you add skill-based matchmaking into that, I feel like you might be killing that aspect of Crucible for me, to where I feel like now I have to sweat all the time. And I don't think that's super fun, and I don't think that's super fair. I don't think that the top 1%, if I'm in the top 0.1%, I don't think I should be playing with people at my skill level all the time, because then I'm just scrimming every game, and there's no fun in that. So, and that also turns into, like, if you're a content creator, or if you do what I do, and you try to make videos using certain guns and weapons and builds, you can't do that as easily, because you're just going to be playing with people who abuse the meta as much, trying their asses off because they're in the top 1%. See, like, it just makes it a lot harder to use something like that. So those are my only real problems with it. I think that maybe to fix the skill-based matchmaking issue, what you could do is make a kind of like a bottleneck, if you will, for the worst players. So the worst or the below average players will start playing more below average players, and as they get better, they will slowly mix into the average players, and the average players will splinter off and broaden. So then maybe the average players, or even maybe slightly below average players, will still play with people who are above average without having the above average and even the super above average just playing with themselves the whole time. I think that's the best way of putting it. But they're also changing the connection based on this. So basically the way that it's going to be seen is they're going to also match based on your connection. So if you have good connection, you're going to match with people with better connection, and vice versa. And this is a good change in my opinion, because it's just going to make the lobbies feel a lot more stable, right? But it's at a cost, right? Because if Timmy has bad internet and Billy has good internet, right, and they both are at the same skill level, they can't match, or they cannot match each other because they have different internets. So what it does is it makes the queue times go up, which they already expressed how they are already expecting the queue times to go up. But it's even worse for people who are super above average. If I'm in the top 10% of players, only 10% of the player base are going to be able to match with me. So that's a huge cutoff. And then when you cut them off again based on their connection, so I can't play people with worse internet, or I can't play people with better internet, then it makes it even longer queue times. And it's just going to make it a way longer experience to get into matches. Now, maybe the matches feel a lot better, and that I think is important as well. But at the same time, I feel like it is also important to understand that maybe that it's not exactly super smart to just cut off all those top tier players like that by bottlenecking them based off connection, because who knows, it could be turned into, let's say if they didn't do the connection changes and you're in the top 10%, let's say that the queue time was like 2 minutes, but if you do cut it off, it's like 5 minutes. Well, that doesn't seem very fun. Nobody wants to sit for 5 minutes to play a 10-minute game mode. It just doesn't seem like it's a good time. And it also makes it harder to find matches for content creation as well. But that is really, that's really all I have to say about connection based. So first off, or to end it all, I should say, how do I think this is going to play out? And is this a good change or a bad change? I think that overall, this will be I want to say, I hope it's a positive change, because I think it's going to help the new light players a lot. I'm just kind of worried for people around my skill level, because I don't know how this matchmaking is gonna go. They list it as loose skill-based matchmaking, so maybe it's not as bad as we think. Maybe we're not gonna have to play super sweats all the time, and if that's the case, then I think that this is going to be a good change. Now, if I do end up playing super sweats all the time, I'm obviously not gonna have a good time playing. So that's obvious. That's not going to be a good change. So I think it's really based on how it plays out. But I do want to give it a chance, and I don't want to write it off as being bad instantly, because we don't really know. We haven't played with it. But that's really it for my thoughts on skill-based matchmaking. I hope you all had some got some thoughts out of that as well. If you have any other things you want to add, or other opinions, or I don't agree with this, or I agree with this, please let me know in the comments below. I do want to listen to you guys' opinions. I think this is a very important topic for the PvP community, and I just want to hear what you guys have to think. But that's really all I have for today, guys. Thank you all so very much for watching.